Chelsea have to beat West Ham on Friday. It's a non-negotiable. Our season got off to a very slow start against Crystal Palace. It was a weak performance. It was a bore fest. I almost fell asleep watching it, and it just wasn't a good way to start the season. Let's be honest, especially in front of your home fans. You want to give them a little bit more to cheer about. I didn't make a video after the game. A few reasons. Obviously, I was on holiday. I'm back now, so I'm going to be making videos like normal again, almost every day now. I'm going to be trying to make some. And obviously I was on holiday as well. That's why there was a change of setup when I was making videos on this stuff. But yeah, I'm back now and we're going to be getting these videos out consistently. But also it was just an absolutely boring game. There was nothing to talk about. It was honestly such a jarring game to watch. Like you were expecting us to, kick in to get some point. And then as the game went on, you just kind of got less and less optimistic about that. And you just started thinking, okay, maybe we're just going to get a draw here, or maybe even Palace could win it. That's just how our luck's going to go today. But it really wasn't a good performance at all. I thought there were a few positives, though. I thought Esteval was really good. When he came on off the bench, he added that spark. Such a young guy. The confidence that he's got is good. He almost scored as well. He got himself in a good chance. Obviously, skied the shot. But it's good to see him getting into those positions. I thought, obviously, Caicedo was very solid, as he always is. Come on, this guy hasn't had a bad game in years now, it seems. But there were obviously negatives. I thought Enzo Fernandez was really, really poor, looked unfit, just looked off the pace. Cole Palmer was not the Cole Palmer we saw at the Club World Cup. He looked like the Cole Palmer we were seeing in the Prem towards the latter end of the season, which is annoying because, you need a guy like Cole Palmer to be popping up in these games for us. He's our key player and our star man. When he's on, he's our best player. João Pedro wasn't really getting involved. It was frustrating for him because he wasn't getting any service. But look, I didn't get too carried away because it's not like drawing to a Burnley or like a newly promoted side or even like a Fulham. It was a Crystal Palace side who's beaten Liverpool in the Community Shield final, Man City in the FA Cup final. It's not just a regular bottom half of the table club. They are a genuinely European side. And they play against these big teams, these low blocks that are hard to penetrate and hard to score against and even create chances against. And look, we were always going to suffer from that. And yeah, on our behalf, we didn't score goals, but it's not the end of the world for me. I think obviously first game of the season, we've only had 2 pre-season games. I am expecting us to bounce back for this West Ham game. But that's enough on the Crystal Palace game. Let's move on to West Ham, which is the focal point of this video. As I said, it's a non-negotiable that we must win because statistically, Chelsea fans are the most optimistic fans for this season. A lot of people have been naming us dark horses to challenge for the title. We're pretty much just, in everyone's top 4 for this season, if not top 5. So people are expecting big things from us. It can't just be a season of regression this year. We've been improving ever since Todd Boehly bought the club since his first season. This has to continue the trend. And although I'm not saying we have to win the title, we have to have a good season. And West Ham is the perfect opportunity to do so. Last year, we went to the London Stadium and scored 3 goals, won 3-0. It was one of Cole Palmer's best games last season. It was one of Nicholas Jackson's best games last season. And there were a lot of positives. Caicedo played incredibly. I'm hoping for more of the same this time. Obviously, we know Jackson won't be there. He's, leaving soon. But let's hope João Pedro can replicate some of the form that Jackson had there last year. But yeah, I think West Ham are a team who right now are just void of inspiration. They haven't had the best window. They've had a really bad start to the season, worse than us. Losing 3-0 to Sunderland, a new promoted side, doesn't really get worse than that. And not only that, but they finished off last season pretty poorly as well. I know they picked up some results towards the end when nothing really mattered anymore. But let's be honest, guys, that middle bit of the season towards the end, it was really bad from West Ham to a point where they were one of the only clubs that could actually mathematically go down with 6 or 7 games left. So it was poor from them. Although they never looked like going down, they were playing like a relegation side towards the end of the season. And Graham Potter again, is a manager who, as a Chelsea fan, does not inspire me at all, obviously, for clear reasons. But just in general, I don't think he's really made anyone change their mind about him since he joined West Ham. It would have been a perfect opportunity for him to prove that, look, I'm still a top manager for a decent side in the Prem. Maybe I couldn't cut it in the tumultuous, chaotic environment of the Chelsea. But look, I did well at Brighton, so I'll do well at West Ham. Hasn't happened. He hasn't kicked on yet. Hasn't really gone on a good run of form yet that's meant anything. And obviously this season's just barely started, so we can't really make assumptions, but losing 3-0, like I said, to a side like Sunderland, who obviously are an exciting side, and I predict them to stay up ahead of West Ham this season, is still, not what you want. And although I thought the new signing Diouf looked decent that game when we scored, he looked lively, the loss of Kudus, man, it's going to do more damage than I think they've realised. Obviously, a lot of West Ham fans are kind of in denial about that, and I don't blame them because he has gone to a rival, West Ham, but they're a poor side. And then, more on us, I mean, look, we had a good end to last season, a very good end to last season, and we've had a good pre-season. This Crystal Palace result for me, that's why I'm not really worrying about it, because for me it's an anomaly. I've seen us play very well in every single game we played this pre-season and the Club World Cup. So why should I be afraid that we go and do the business at the London Stadium? I think we'll go and do it, man. But obviously, look, we know in the Prem, we can't write anyone off. It's just, I can't get too comfortable because I was expecting a win against Crystal Palace. I'm not going to lie to you. I was expecting a win, and we didn't even score a goal. So, like I said, let's not get carried away. But who do I think will line up to get us that win? Well, that's what we're going to address now. Let me just pull this up for you guys. So here we have the team that I would personally play if I was Maresca. Not necessarily what I think he will play, but what I would play. And there's only 2 changes from Crystal Palace. You've got Torreson at left centre-back, and you've got Esteval at right wing. Obviously, against Palace, we had Gittins playing on the left and Neto on the right. And then when Esteval came on, Esteval went on the right and Neto on the left. I would stick Esteval on the right and Neto on the left. I think that's when we were creating most danger, specifically on the right-hand side when Esteval was on there. I'm not going to lie to you. I personally also prefer Neto on the left. I think when he played on the left last season, he was better for us. But I think he's a solid player, whichever side he plays. I don't necessarily think he's a lot better on the left. I just think if he accommodates for Esteval, that's where we get the most chances. I wasn't totally convinced by Gittins, I'm not going to lie to you, against Crystal Palace. So that's why I would drop him, because Esteval obviously had more of an impact. I'm not writing Gittins off. He was great in pre-season and he looks like a very solid player. I think right now we need to just get the 3 points. Torreson at left centre-back obviously was injured for the Palace game. We were very afraid that it was a serious injury like the one with Colwill, but thank God it wasn't. It was just a light knock. So he will go straight to left centre-back for me. We're hearing that Wesley Fofana is also available to get minutes. I don't think he'll start. He hasn't played a game in like almost a year now. Not almost, like 8 months maybe. It's been a long time. But glad to see that he's back. Obviously, there's also this whole kerfuffle going on that he's deleted all his Instagram posts with Chelsea shirts. And I don't even know, man. He's a little troublemaker. But anyways, yeah, again, Josh Achampong I would drop for Tosin. I think I really was happy with Josh's performance. I think he played very well and he was very composed for a player his age. And I'm happy to see that he won Player of the Match, voted by Chelsea supporters. But I think, he's not ready to start game after game yet. Slowly integrate him into the starting lineup is good, especially when you've got Cole out on injury and Badiashile and Fofana and maybe even Tosin now, never really reliable with their fitness. I think having an extra man there like Josh, who's a very, very solid player, available is a very, very good thing to have. So I would not loan him. I wouldn't even sell him, obviously. I would definitely try and keep him there, but not as a starter just yet. But then everyone else is just the same to me. And João Pedro, I decided to keep him over Delap purely because João Pedro for me was better, obviously, in the Club World Cup. And pre-season, pretty even again. They both scored a few goals. But again, obviously, I said João Pedro was a bit frustrating against Crystal Palace. He didn't really get much service, but I don't really think that was his fault. I think he tried to get involved. And obviously, as a striker, if the ball's not really coming to you, it's kind of hard to force it. You kind of have to just stay in position and hope it does eventually make its way to you. But it was one of those days where Palace were just very, very solid and compact, and it was very hard to get crosses into the box and passes and anything through balls. And yeah, I think João Pedro, I'll still give him the start against West Ham. Obviously, when Delap came on against Palace, I thought he was decent. I thought he created some danger. I think missed a few chances that he should have probably done better with, though. But for me, João Pedro still starts. But Delap maybe should come off the bench a little earlier if we find ourselves in a similar situation that we did against Palace, against West Ham. But yeah, man. That's about it. Robert Sanchez keeps his place in goal. Clean sheet against Palace. Had a decent performance. Maybe a bit questionable for the free kick goal, but disallowed in the end. Chalobah I thought was solid against Palace, so he stays. Reece James obviously has to be in there. Cucurella has to be in there. Enzo had a poor performance, but I wouldn't really drop him for a guy like Andre Santos yet, because obviously we know the player Enzo is. I'm not the type of guy to turn on this guy over one performance, and then when he has a blinder against West Ham, then he's suddenly the best midfielder in the world again. No, I'm consistent on this guy. I think he's inconsistent. I think he has a bad game in him, but I think slowly but surely he's starting to remove more of those bad performances and become more of an effective player. And starting to contribute more going forward as well, which is very important. Caicedo is obviously no-brainer. First name on the team sheet right now. Cole Palmer as well is another one of those players who, even if he has a bad performance, he has to be in there next week. Neto and Esteval, I've already explained why, and João Pedro as well. So that is the lineup I would go with if I was Maresca. Do I think Maresca will go with that? Maybe not. I think he might just stay with the same lineup, except for maybe adding Tosin in there. Maybe Gittins gets the heads up over Esteval is what I'm thinking. But if Maresca has big cojones, he will go with Esteval, I think. Because I think a manager has to prioritize ability over things like age and things like that. Because Esteval, for me, despite his age, he's more than ready to start. I think he is. I've seen that in the preseason, and I've seen that against Crystal Palace. Now he might start against West Ham and then not have the best game, and that's fine. Then we bench him for the next one. But at this point of his career, it's good to get his confidence up and make sure that the guy knows that we're backing him, because his potential, like I said in previous videos, is something you just can't ignore and you can't be safe with. Obviously, you have to be safe with him, but I'm saying this guy, he can contribute and he will contribute. So we need to allow him to develop. But yeah, that is all. Bit of a short video, but let me know what you guys would change about my lineup. Let me know your predictions for the game. And as always, I'll be making a video after the match tomorrow, reviewing it, and hopefully we get the win. I'm hoping. Anyways, I'll see you in a bit.